Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along. James Edwards, thepoliticalcesspool.org. Still with me, Ronald S. Lauder, the billionaire cosmetics heir, and one of New York's most influential Republican benefactors, has pivoted. He's simply stopped all funding. It's going to change the landscape in New York. Republicans are panicking. What a blow before midterms, James.
Yeah, I think no matter how much money you have, you don't want to set it on fire. And I was optimistic even in the midterms of 2018. I thought Trump would be reelected in 20, and who knows, maybe he was. But nevertheless, I did get 16 and 24 right, but this is the first time since Trump descended the escalator so famously that I do believe you're going to see a wipeout in November. And so even the billionaire class.
What's that sound they used to have on there? There's a wipeout.
Yeah. That's a good song.
That's what we're going to basically have. Here's the next headline that I find interesting. Usually the mainstream press on the conservative side. So, Rush Limbaugh declared himself a water boy for the Republican Party, for instance. Sean Hannity, basically replacement thereof. I know other people say they replaced Rush, but I think Sean Hannity is really the Rush replacement because he's so mainstream, so standard, so whatever. But this is interesting. Headline says, clock ticking for Trump. Dave Rubin went on Sean Hannity and says, hey, the clock's ticking for Trump, just 3 months left. And the GOP will probably lose the midterms. And then Sean Hannity concurred with Rubin's perspective on the critical time frame and said, hey, you know what? You better deliver on the promises. You've got about 3 months to deliver on the promises or you're cooked. And literally Dave Rubin and Sean Hannity both agreed with that reality. If that's not a clear mainstream Republican leadership, you use money or lose money from Lauder, and then you basically go ahead and have these two guys, Dave Rubin and Sean Hannity, saying it. I don't know why Trump's not listening. Trump could do so many things that could lift the mood for MAGA or for Republicans. He could, 1, abolish the IRS. 2, audit Fort Knox, roll in there with headlamps and such. He could, 3, abolish, like I said, the IRS. He hasn't even gotten rid of the education department. Number 4, what he could do is this. They shot down his $1.8 billion going to hand out to the January 6th people and other people that have been harmed by the government. You'd be one of them because they besmirched your character in the courts and lied about who you are. You'd get some cash for that, James. But the bottom line is that failed. And now you've got this guy trying to become the confirmed attorney general who's rejected that now. He shut down that fund. But Trump could do it on his own. He's already made $2 billion in office in just the last year, from what I understand, from his media companies and from his cryptocurrencies and all this kind of stuff. Why doesn't Trump just start handing out money to people? You know what? I'm going to give $100,000, for example, each to the patriots that were at January 6th that were abused. We never got any answers on January 6th like we were promised. We never found out the government side. We never released the 40,000 hours of video. Nothing happened. But Trump could, with his own pocket, could just do that. And if you say, well, no, the president can't give money to people. Okay, fine, have Don Jr. do it or have whatever. I mean, don't tell me it can't get done. And so I look at this and I just go, Donald could do so many different things. He promised to get rid of gun-free zones first day. He could take advantage of this Idaho shooting where you had this great citizen come to the table and this great off-duty officer and drive the shooter away and save dozens of lives. So you could say, hey, because this wasn't a gun-free zone, we saved lives. I'm going to get rid of gun-free zones like he promised. Any one of those key things that are tiny but significant, Trump could do, and we could start to change the game and build some momentum. But he's not giving us anything to grab onto, James. Nothing.
It's going to be very hard to do anything now with Congress out to lunch for the rest of the year.
What if you just did what I said? What if you just started giving out cash of your own $2 billion you got from being the president and promoting crypto and everything else? He's got plenty of money. He could do it philanthropy style outside of government. He doesn't need government to do it.
Well, it would take something like that. Now, that would be the one thing that would speak to people. If you can speak to their pocketbook at this time of utter utter hardship.
It's the economy, stupid, right?
James Carville was right about that.
Yes, he was.
That was true then, and it is still true, at least for most voters. Most voters are voting on what helps them the most at home, not on grand civilizationally themed issues. But it would take something which he can't unilaterally do anyway. It would take something as big.
Yeah, he could abolish gun-free zones first day. Just do an executive order to abolish gun-free zones. And you could use this example in Idaho to make the point.
The IRS, it would take something. I don't even think that would be big enough, Sam. I mean, here we are. I mean, it would take something like abolishing the IRS, in my opinion, to like really get people back at this late date. Here we are now in August, and most of the good that Trump has done was done within the first few days of the second administration.
And most of it's been shut down and overturned. Just take tariffs, for example, or they've already refunded billions of dollars. The courts have gone against him, and most of what he's even done has been overturned and shut down and bogged down. And in the courts, we've impeached nobody either.
That's right. But, a lot of the executive orders, certainly freeing the J6 hostages, that was all done. That was a very good thing, and he deserves eternal credit for that.
Amen.
That was all within the first few days of him reassuming office. And basically all of this year. Even, actually, I did a huge feature for the American Free Press around Christmas of last year. So that was the first year. A recap, we had about 24 contributors from all around the world assessing Trump. And even as late as last Christmas or the first week of this year, which is when that particular issue went to press,
people still had hope.
Still getting between, I think internationally he ranked at like a 6.4 out of 10, and then domestically it was like a 7.2 out of 10. For the people who responded from the United States that we were polling, and that was again the last week of last year. This whole year has been nothing but Iran. And keep in mind that in addition to closing the borders, which was issue 1A for Trump in 16 and in 20 and 24, frankly, staying out of these foreign entanglements and having a more Washingtonian foreign policy was issue 1B. And he's totally he's done more than George Bush and John McCain. They couldn't even get into Iran.
Well, it makes you wonder what Netanyahu has over the Donald, right?
And people are looking at that. So the Iran debacle coupled with just the absolute inaffordability of life is just not I don't think there's any rabbit at this, because I kept thinking, okay, well, maybe he's going to do something for Netanyahu just to get him off his back or something, because he did do that one little limited bombing last year, and then they kind of vamped out. But this year has just been all in, and it's been on again. The rhetoric has been on again, off again. But and
I mentioned this yesterday, James, and I want to get your take on this too. So now they claim there's talks happening, but Trump has been dismissed from the talks. So what you've got now is the leader of the free world who's going, yeah, they're talking about it, but he's not there. And if that's not a big slap in the face and a huge win for Iran, I don't know what is.
This whole thing is just such a joke every time. And again, I still am more favorable towards Trump. Let me be clear, even though I'm expressing some grievances here, I'm still more. If you say favorable or disfavorable, gun to your head, I'm more favorable than disfavorable.
Do it this
Trump.
way: if you had to grade Donald Trump, let's say he was in your class or something, whatever, and you were to grade Donald, what grade would you give him? Now, yesterday we asked a guy this, and he said, "Can I grade the two terms separately, or the two stints separately, 45 versus 47, or do I have to grade it as one?" You can grade it separate or as one, whatever you want.
Overall, D+. I mean, I would give him a passing grade, but I mean, this Iran thing is an anchor and an albatross, and then this whole thing with coming to the table, these ceasefires. There's been so many I mean, I had on a government contractor who's worked in Iran. He's really one of the most intelligent people and informed people on Iran that anybody could have on any program, up to and including Fox News and the Today Show, any of the Sunday morning talk shows. And we were talking about the memorandum of understanding. It looked like peace was at hand. There have been so many of these ceasefires and tentative peace deals, and then Trump, we have not been at war, but at the same time, we've won the war about 15 times by now, and then, peace on again.
Well, that's the problem. You got a credibility crisis when you say, hey, we've taken out all their capabilities, and now they're basically cranking up their efforts and stuff. It's really hard to claim that we've taken them all out. If we've really taken them all out, like he says, isn't it over by now? Well, no, it's actually cranking up. They're getting some backing from funding, and now they say China might be giving them some missiles.
Well, you would. I have questioned why China and Russia haven't been. But
go ahead and skip the break, Liz.
I've wondered why China and Russia haven't been a little more involved on Iran's side, because they are.
I think they have. They're just not making it public in your face, and the American news doesn't report. So, there you go.
One thing that has been a trend is, and it's become a global joke, everybody sees through this. At this point, anytime I hear any talk about a ceasefire, them coming back to the table, I understand. What I understand that to mean is that America's run out of bombs for a minute, and they've got to reload their ordnance. And every time it comes to one of these talks, you have a new round of bombing that immediately follows.
It's tragedy, and it's going to go on, and we can talk about it till the cows come home. What I want to do is pivot to some domestic issues. Today was supposed to be the vote on Fauci. Well, the sad part is they've delayed the vote now. Headline says this: Fauci contempt vote rescheduled for tomorrow. Now, the only reason you do that is if you don't think that it'll pass and you want a little more time to, twist some arms, make some, I don't know. But that's a serious, serious issue. Why is it being delayed till tomorrow? Now, here's the interesting thing. It's an urgent alert, the Senate to decide on Fauci's role in alleged health crisis and population control scheme, writes our dear friends over at Liberty Counsel, Matt Staver. The Senate is set to vote on a resolution. Now, it's just a resolution, whatever that means, seeking to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci accountable for an orchestrated, harmful health efforts causing increased miscarriages and abortions for women. And when I say abortions, I just mean that their body naturally aborts the baby. In a controversial stance, Liberty Counsel claims Fauci's COVID-19 vaccination has not only caused fatalities, but intentionally interfered with women's health and their ability to carry babies. With potential criminal charges on the line, the Senate vote has significant implications, escalating tensions around public health. This is a big deal, and they say that millions of people worldwide were killed by this, and Fauci's primarily responsible. Even Fauci had, according to his own diary, some kind of a health negative effect after he took the vax, and so this is becoming very serious. I don't think that there's a prayer that Fauci will be held accountable. I appreciate Rand Paul's efforts, and I pray that he's successful, but I don't see it. Now, there's a lot of discussions on the line. One, if you plead the fifth, can you do that after you got a pardon? Because when you get a pardon, then you remove your right to plead the fifth. So some attorneys say, others say that won't hold water. And he basically he pled the fifth 111 times. What do you think about all this, James? What do you think is going to happen?
A lot of things. Going back originally, if people can, and I know a lot of us have tried to forget this dystopian era, the COVID era of 2020 through whatever, whenever it ended, and it ended in some states sooner than others, and in some states it didn't really ever take off at all, practically speaking. But even in, this goes back to Trump's first term, and Trump would do these press conferences with Fauci. And even then, he was really trying to play
daily
both sides.
For a while.
He was trying to play both sides even then, Trump was. But, of course, Fauci is a global villain, in my opinion. And this whole hearing that he had was just a farce. I mean, pleading the fifth to absolutely everything, which I'm sure that they knew he was going to do before he arrived. But and Tom Cotton, I believe it was, who was questioning him, did bring up the issue about the pardon, that you can't plead the fifth if you've already been pardoned or received a pardon. But this whole thing, what color is your tie? And he pled the fifth. What color is the carpet? He pleads the fifth. If past is prologue, Sam, there will be no punishment whatsoever for Fauci. And this is another thing that I think people are seeing with Trump is that no heads have rolled, politically speaking or legally speaking. The people who were his biggest enemies, he hasn't made an example out of them. And that goes, I think that cuts straight to the credibility that, frankly, the president and his administration are facing going into these midterms. Well, why would we vote for you? What have you delivered? How have the people who are who literally resulted in the deaths of untold millions of people in this case, but are otherwise ruining civilization at large? Who's been held accountable? Who's been put into prison? Not one. And Trump promised prison sentence. Everybody promises things that they can't really deliver.
Yeah, and we've never really got all the facts, though. So they released his diary. Rand Paul did it. And then all of a sudden it got yanked off and they replaced it with a redacted version. So now we can't even really find out or drill him about or find out, what happened to Fauci after he even took the vaccines. If you want to make a poignant point, let's know what happened to him after he took it. And as far as I understand, he had a adverse reaction too. What that is the problem. Some people say he had a heart attack. We don't really know because it got yanked off so quick we can't compare the details of what he wrote versus, there's no accountability is the problem.
No. And there won't be. And as you say, I think it would be the smartest bet at all. There's this website called Polymarket. I'm not recommending it, but you can basically bet on anything in the world. I mean, you can bet on any outcome. You can bet on, which way a leaf from the tree is going to fall. And they take bets on everything. They take all kinds of action. If there's any sort of betting on whether or not Fauci will go to prison, I mean, you could bet your house on that.
I'm going to bet it nothing happens. I know that, a lot of attorneys are saying, hey, he can't plead the fifth. He gave away that right when he signed the pardon deal, and others are saying this and that. But I'm convinced he's in the class that's protected.
Yeah, 100%. It's not even in question.
What do you think, James? I think that he just is. And I wish it wasn't so. And we thought it would be different under President Trump, and this is my example. President Trump's just going, oh, yeah, Fauci was a bad guy. I warned Biden, is all Trump's saying.
Yeah. No. I mean, Fauci's in the clear. And he's so in the clear, and it's so not even up for debate. You wonder why they even had the kabuki theater of trying to have this hearing.
Because it raises a lot of money for Rand Paul, that's why.
That ultimately, I mean, and maybe Rand Paul thinks that there's a 1% chance that this could break in a just way, but it's just I don't even know if he believes that.
I wish it would. Don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we need full-blown Nuremberg-style trials on this thing. They literally murdered people around the world by the millions with this COVID con, with this Fauci facade, with this clot shot, with this kill jab, whatever you want to call the thing. I mean, it's disaster. We never really got to the bottom of it. I mean, you'd say it was leaked from a lab. Was it intentionally leaked by the communist Chinese? See, I believe the answer to that's yes. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, it's no different than anybody else's information. We don't have any facts on this thing. No one dug in and got any facts at all.
I still remember being in a bowling alley when they canceled the NCAA men's national basketball tournament, the March Madness, and that's when I knew that they were really that something was really weird about this whole thing. And then you had this whole global minstrel show, basically, where people were pretending, and then it just goes to show the mass psychosis and how people can be cowed by media and by governments, and you just had the vast majority of people at least taking some of these shots, and it was just, that was something that the world will never forget. And still, I mean, and it's gone now.
And that's the thing, is until we the people demand accountability, and I use this Mitch McConnell thing to make my point. If they don't care if their senator's just missing in action and no one knows the truth, and no one's going to demand answers from the campaign or the whatever you want to call it, his congressional office or whatever, his Senate office or whatever, and no one's going to care about the Fauci accountability. No one's going to care about the J6 people that were wronged. I mean, we were promised 40,000 hours of video. We never really got any of that. We just released a couple of things through Tucker Carlson, and a couple of people were allowed to get on a government computer and look a little bit, but no real release of any kind where people could really dig through it and find out what was fake, what was real. No real charges against government or accountability to lay out that side like they promised. No looking into the, what's in Fort Knox kind of discussions. But I want to switch gears for the final little segment really quick, James, to make an interesting point. In America, listen to this headline. One modern combo meal in 1964 terms, James.
Don't get me
Do you want to go over this? Do you have this handy?
I do.
Highlight this. This is interesting.
Handy's relative. Let me pull it back up here. So I got the pizza prices. Okay, here it is. I got it right here.
One modern combo meal. Listen to this.
In 1964 terms, it's 5 burgers, 3 fries, and 5 Cokes. So portion inflation.
So that's the deal. So if you take 1964 numbers, just so you know, an average Coke in 1964, they came out in the 60s with a 12-ounce can of Coke. But your traditional bottles of Coke were 6.5 ounces. And nowadays, people roll in and get a large and get a quart of Coke or whatever. It's like 5 Cokes, right? And if you have a hamburger back in the day, they were 15 cents for a hamburger, but they were about a tenth of a pound hamburger. And so we get, quarter pound, half pound, third pound burgers. So that's why it's 5 burgers. When it comes to fries, their regular fry was like a small fry. And so when you kind of pair it up with, then you get, that would be your order, James. If you did modern time and got like a large fry and a large drink and a typical hamburger of modern time, big hamburger, that's what you would be looking at.
Well, maybe that would explain why there's such a epidemic of obesity in this country. But the only other thing that's fattened up more than the portions is the price. I mean, what are we at now? Like 500 times the 15-cent price for a combo. 100 times more. It's $15 for a combo now.
So you supersize me, James. That's all.
Supersize the price and the portions. Everybody's unhealthy and broke. That is a docile population.
And I bring that up, though, because I want people to understand the expectations are so different than they used to be. And I guess we're just going to order that big meal, and we're just going to say we don't care what Fauci does. We don't care that the J6ers were abused. We don't care what Mitch McConnell's doing. We just don't care because we're just disenfranchised to the point where we don't care anymore, James. Don't care.
Right, you'll order that big meal if you can afford it. And again, even going to fast food now. I mean, people are going to fast food and financing their Happy Meal on Klarna. You can make these installment payments. If the Democrats harness that, you better watch out. If they can harness this this economic crisis by making promises and and they're good at that. They're good at promising all this free stuff that they can
Mondami's already given out groceries at discounts and everything else at taxpayers' expense, right?
I'd like to see the long-term effects on how that's going to work out for New York.
They're working on a universal basic income, James. How would you like to just sit around and?
I'd love to. I'd like to see how that works. But I mean, listen, if that actually would work, do you think anybody's going to vote against that? We understand that it can't work and why it can't work. But if they can get people to believe that, you think anybody?
That's right.
You know how stupid people are in this country? Just have no knowledge or awareness about history or about anything, really. I mean, the standard of educational excellence in this country has fallen precipitously for decades and generations. You think that if you can't get some slick-talking politician like Mondami or AOC to say, you know what, if you vote for us, you're going to get a universal basic income. This is what's coming from the Democratic Party. People would vote for that just on the hope of it, and especially when they're suffering so much out there. And whether it was the Republicans' fault or the Democrats' fault or just the way of the world, the buck stops with the party in power when you're being pinched. And, right now, unfortunately for Trump, that's his side. Or unfortunately for the Republicans, that's their side.
Yeah, unless it's all by design. I think they kind of share power and they're like, okay, it's your turn.
That's another topic, but touche.
There you have it, ladies. James, why don't you close us out today, buddy?
Well, Sam, I love you. I'm so thankful for all the years we've been together, and I'm looking forward to many more. Do support the work of independent journalism and media. We have to have our own media outlets, and I can't think of a better one than the Liberty News Radio Network and libertyroundtable.com, libertynewsradio.com. You'll get a good return on your investment, I can tell you that. Thank you, Sam.
ThePoliticalCesspool.org, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sam Bushman with James Edwards. God save our constitutional republic.
There's a penalty for truth, but it's worth it when you try. Yeah, it's worth it when you try.